Welcome back, Life Sciences. I hope you enjoyed your little break. We're going to be recapping the cell today. We're looking at all of the things that the cell has to do. We've looked at this whole concept of the boundaries, a cell membrane, a cell wall, if it's a plant cell. What do we find inside the cell? It's the cytoplasm, as you must remember, this jelly, right? And we're going to find these structures called organelles inside the cell. And that's what we're busy looking at. The last segment that we looked at the endoplasmic reticulum, we looked at the ribosomes, we looked at the Golgi apparatus and the nucleus. And a lot of these things are not going to make too much sense for you now. But as I said to you, this is the foundation. As we go on, all the organelles and the importance that they play in the functions of the cell are going to become much clearer to you. You must just be able to understand the basics. So we're looking at the concept of organelles inside of the cells. And we looked at last time, as I said, the nucleus. We looked at the endoplasmic reticulum, the ribosomes, and the Golgi body. Now, plant and animal cells all have those. Now, some organelles we're going to find are going to be only found in a plant cell or have a much greater function than in a plant cell. And the first one that we're going to look at is these plastids. Now, what on earth is a plastid? A plastid means plast, which means a color. Now, plant cells, very importantly, can photosynthesize. And what do we mean by that is they can make food. So when they make food, they also need to store food. Right, so what can plants do? Now, the first one, as I said to you, the first thing you need to be able to do for plants are able to photosynthesize, right? We as animals, we cannot, we are heterotrophs, we need to eat. Plants can photosynthesize because they have got this very special plastid called a chloroplast. And basically what happens is you'll look at it later on in your life science chapters, that when sunlight hits the chloroplast, a whole lot of things are going to occur. And at the end, what is going to happen is they are going to make the food. Now, what plants do is they are going to store the food. And how they store it is going to be in these cells. And when you do plant tissue, you're going to hear the cell called parenchyma. But if you have a look over here, each one of these is a cell. Now, are you wondering, why is it blue? The reason why it's blue is each of these cells actually is storing starch. All right, so the plant made the food, and now it's going to be stored. And what is a leucoplast? It means something that's colorless. Can you see here? If I didn't have the blue, it would be white. And what it actually is, is storing is starch. Now, why is it this blue color? Because if I put iodine, if I stain it with iodine, let's go back to my food tests. What happens to starch? It goes a blue-black. This, guys, would probably be your potato, right? Your potato has got leucoplast. They're your potatoes. They are your storage of, those starches. This is a chromoplast. Now, chromo means color. Now, guys, this is probably what your tomatoes look like. And what are tomatoes? Once again, we have got food that we store, but we have a pigment, and usually we call it beta carotene, It's a color pigment, but it's a bit of a vitamin that we're going to find in our plants. Another way we're going to find chromoplasts is in our flowers. All right, a flower's got colors, and that's the chromoplast is where we're going to find those. All right, guys, the next organelle we're looking at is vacuoles. Now, a vacuole, I've written here in a plant cell, not only in plant cells. We're going to find them in animal cells. Vacuoles in animal cells are a lot smaller, and sometimes they're only temporary. For example, if it eats or if it needs to get rid of a waste product. However, in a plant cell, if you can have a look at the diagram in the board, the vacuole, this is the whole vacuole, almost takes up the whole cell. And what it does is inside here, it stores water, all right, and minerals. But now what happens is that when it stores it, it fills it up and it pushes against the cell wall. And when it does that, we say that the cell is turgid. What do I mean by turgid? So remember, when we look at a plant cell, as I said before, if I cut it open, I'm not going to see a skeleton. So a plant cell is reliant on its cells and its tissue to be strong. So we've got it now imagine, we've got a strong cell wall that's rigid. And when a plant is well watered, this vacuole fills, imagine it's like a balloon, and it keeps the cell turgid. Turgid means upright. Now imagine what happens is when I don't water the cell, plasmolysis. So the water goes out from a high concentration to a low. And what does my vacuole do? It shrinks. And what happens to my whole cell? It collapses. It wilts. And I water it, and all of a sudden, there I give my plant shape again. So the vacuole, I won't say it has a more important role to play in the plant than animal, but in the plant cell itself, the vacuole plays a really important role. So as I said, it stores water, and you can see it takes out the whole cell. It pushes, this is the nucleus, and this is the chloroplast, pushes everything to the side to be able to make the space. Okay guys, the next one we're looking at are called centrioles, and they're very difficult, all right, organelles to try and explain. And they only become clearer once you look at the concept of mitosis. We only find them in animal cells, and there are two of them, and they usually lie at right angles to each other. And what happens is during mitosis, these little guys, if I were to draw something, are going to produce what we call spindle fibers. It's only a concept you'll see later. And what they basically do, imagine they're like fishing rod. They're going to attach to like a chromosome, and they're going to pull, and that's what how they're gonna move things apart. But when you have a look at mitosis, their role is going to be very clear. So they have a role in how the cell divides. And they're only visible in an animal cell. For some reason, we don't see them in a plant cell at all. Okay guys, so let's have a look at common questions that we can ask on this section. Very often you are given a diagram of a plant and an animal cell, and you need to be able to answer questions, tell the difference, etc. Okay, so the question is, the following diagrams represent different types of cells. Okay, so what do we have to answer? Identify the cells represented by diagrams 1 and 2. So you have to look at it. The first thing always that you need to be able to identify is which one is a plant cell and which one is an animal cell. Okay, so this one is a plant cell, right? And the reason why I know that is, what do I look at? I can see the shape is quite regular, but I have a look. I've got double membranes over here. I can also see that I've probably got chloroplasts, where in the animal cell that is missing. So plant 1 is a plant cell, right, and plant 2 is an animal. All of a sudden I couldn't spell animal. All right. Now it says give the number and name of the organelle which serves as a storage site for water and mineral salts. Now you're looking for the vacuole, that is the name. And remember, vacuole, usually I'm going to look in the plant cell because that's where it's going to have a far more important function. My answer here is going to be number D, because can you see it? It's a nice large open space. There's actually 2 of them in there. So my number is a D, and the name is going to be a vacuole. The next question. Provide the labels for parts A, B, and C. So number A is going to be my cell membrane, because I have one in both my plant and my animal cell. Number B, don't say nuclear membrane. Go for the whole organelle. All right. So number B here is going to be my nucleus. And part number C is going to be my cell wall. So guys, you need to be able to recognize all the different organelles, be able to see them. Now the last question before we run out of time says, state whether part D, that's my vacuole, is a permeable, impermeable, or selectively permeable membrane. Guys, it's this, and the why is because it is surrounded by a membrane. And what do we know in our cell? That all our membranes, are going to be selectively permeable. Okay, guys, go and do revision exercises. Go and find past tests if you're able to. Just practice, practice, practice. That's all we're going to have time for in recapping the cell. Until next time, cheerio, bye.